Hey guys, join us every Friday night at midnight for Midnight Spook House Live, where we talk about the paranormal, including UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and everything else that goes bump in the night.
And every other Wednesday, we have 2 different shows, All Podcast on Your Grave, where we discuss horror, and Retro After Dark, where we discuss everything from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
For more details and show times, visit MidnightSpookhouse.com.
Mass UFO sighting.
Now this creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is alive.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. And good evening to everyone out there in, I guess we can call it Radio Land. Ryan and I are here trying to snap a pre-show selfie, and it isn't going all that well. But Ryan, you are here. How are you doing, man?
Great to be here. Glad to be back in the is it the studio?
I guess it's the studio. It's the Spook House Studios. It sounds professional that way. So tonight we're going to do something fun, aren't we, Ryan? Go ahead. You tell them about it. I'm always the one here telling everybody everything. You tell them. What are we doing tonight?
Well, we've got a couple of news stories.
We do.
And then we're going to be speaking to a local Bigfoot hunter group, Bigfoot hunters and research team, called Bigfoot 911.
How cool is that?
Excited to have these guys on. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we've known about it a couple of weeks, and we haven't said much because you never know. Things fall through. But alas, here we are, and it's going to work out. So, yeah, we're going to ask a few questions. We hope they're the questions you want to hear. If there are more, pop in chat and ask. And in the future, we'll try to have them back on, and we'll ask those questions that come later. So, Ryan, let's go ahead and get to the news, and then we'll get to the show. So, what do you have for us? Something fun?
Sounds good. Well, something certainly interesting. I don't know if you've seen this floating around the internet lately.
Ooh, the internet's fancy.
Is Amelia Earhart, is that mystery now solved? Or it's at least, the game has changed on it?
Yes, it has.
So, a new photo has made its way around the internet that appears to show her on a dock at the Marshall Islands. So what this suggests is that perhaps she survived longer than we initially thought.
Mm-hmm.
The photo comes from the National Archives and has a ton of buzz surrounding it, obviously. For those who don't know or remember the story, it goes that the first female aviator disappeared over the Pacific Ocean while attempting to fly the globe in her plane in 1937. It turns out that she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, may have actually survived for several days on a deserted island after crash landing somewhere in the Pacific atoll of Nuku'amaro.
Yay! For once, it's not me trying to do it. You nailed it. You made me look bad.
So obviously, there are lots of questions left, but it potentially leads us to more answers to come.
Yeah.
Which is why we do this show.
It is. That's really, we didn't do any of the legwork, but we can sit here and talk about it. No, that's really cool, man. Yeah, I had seen the pictures and I said, well, what do you say? I said, huh? What do you say?
Yeah, like I said, it completely changes the game.
It really does.
She may have actually survived. That's exactly what that suggests.
Yeah,
so.
we want to say that that's good news, right? There's hopefully no malice to it, but hopefully that's good news.
And there are lots of people that are continually doing research on this and are still searching for answers as to what really actually happened to her.
Right.
So hopefully those people will continue the search, and we'll continue to learn more about her.
That's the theme of tonight. Search and learn, right? Let's do more of that. Now, speaking of the National Archives, this is a fun transition. Remember when we talked a few weeks ago about the files being released in the UK? Do you remember that?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The time has finally come. They have released 15 Ministry of Defense files, all centered on UFOs. If so inclined, a person could go read them right this very moment by visiting the National Archives in Kew. Actually, maybe not right this minute, but over next week. Right. So a road trip after West Virginia, and we grabbed some pizza and a wall from The Evil Dead 2, right?
There we go.
Yeah, okay, that's what we'll do next. So, 15 files from the Ministry of Defense on the subject of UFOs has been released, said a press officer. We release files on a weekly basis and have already highlighted previous releases on this subject. Nick Pope, a former UFO investigator, believes the files should actually be pretty interesting. He says these files will give people a revealing insight into the bizarre and intriguing aspect of the Ministry of Defense business. I think these files perfectly capture the wonder and fascination of the UFO mystery and show how officials, myself included, struggled to make sense of one of the greatest mysteries of the modern era. Sadly, there's no smoking gun in these files that will prove we've been visited necessarily by extraterrestrials, but there are plenty of intriguing UFO reports, as well as policy papers explaining how the Ministry of Defense handled the subject. Whether people are believers, skeptics, or somewhere in between, these files should delight and fascinate. I hope people find them interesting and entertaining as well.
Always entertaining.
I feel like that one was right for you, Ryan. You're all about the UFOs and being entertaining and things, so I think that's just perfect for you. Well, I'll tell you what, let's move quick because we've got a guest on the show tonight and we're really excited to talk to him. So let's take just a quick little break and have our friend John on.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds great. This should be fun.
Join us every Friday night at midnight for Spook House Radio Live, where we cover everything paranormal. And we've got 2 news shows on alternating Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern. First, we've got a new horror show, I'll Podcast on Your Grave, where we discuss everything horror and entertainment. And Retro After Dark, where we take on everything from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, cartoons, movies, video games, and more. So tune into all of our shows. Keep in touch and get the schedule at midnightspookhouse.com. Twitter at The Spook House, and Facebook at The Midnight Spook House.
Spook House Radio.
And indeed, we have returned. So, Ryan, I'm excited. It's about time we finally get to talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about, not us. We don't know what we're talking about. So we would like to welcome John of Bigfoot 911. John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hello, how you doing, man?
I'm very good. How about y'all?
We're doing good. We're excited. We've been, I guess, is it you we've been talking to for a week or two now?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And Ryan came to me the other day and he said, it's about time we have on somebody who knows about Bigfoot because we always feel like we're at a loss. We don't know what we're doing. So
it's always certainly an interesting subject for us. But
there's so many reports of it. There's something to it. So yeah. So thank you for joining us. First off, before we get into it, can you tell us more about what your group does, where you're located, and how'd you come up with the name?
Okay. Well, the name, pretty much all of the main members, I guess you call it the core group, has either worked in an emergency services at one time or the other, or is still working. So my dad in 2015 came up with the idea, hey, why not have a Bigfoot group called Bigfoot 911? Because two things that's very important to him.
Okay, that's a great way to come up with a name.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is. That's great. Yeah. So where are you guys located? I mean, roughly.
Roughly, we try to stay in the western North Carolina area. We're kind of midway between, I guess, Hickory in the east and Asheville in the west.
Well, we're actually there, and we go to Hickory a lot.
Yeah, actually, very familiar with the area.
Yeah, we've got family down in Granite Falls, if you're familiar.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's cool. So we have a few questions, and then we'll kind of let you have the floor, if that's all right. Tell some of your stories.
Okay.
How many sightings have been reported, like, to your group in general since you started this? Would you say that it's kind of a hot spot in North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina is actually starting to turn out to be a pretty big hot spot. As they slowly, I guess, start moving out and away from Asheville in terms of building stuff up and going deeper into the Appalachian Mountains. More and more sightings are coming to us. And then actually what I've learned since I've started, I guess, kind of taking this stuff more serious, is that there is tons of folklore and legends out there that, predates all of the TV shows and everything.
Wow. Actually, I don't think I knew that so much.
No, me either.
Okay.
I didn't either. Whenever we first started kind of doing this, and like, oh man, there's stuff way down in Rutherford County, and that's way south of us, and then all over up in the more mountainous areas of the county, kind of bordering the Tennessee border. There's all sorts of stuff.
That's cool. I didn't know that. We're in Southwest Virginia and Northeast Tennessee, so we're not exactly strangers to your area. And
okay.
I didn't know that it was so much around here, because around here we don't hear about that.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So a question I have, I was curious, the people in the Western North Carolina region, do they refer to this particular cryptid as Bigfoot, or is there like a more local name? Because around here, growing up in the area, I was always told urban legends about the wood booger was what it was referred to.
Have you heard it called that? That was new to me.
I've never heard it called the wood booger, but there is actually several names that I've heard people use.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, going back into the folklore, the Cherokee Indians believe in a creature that I guess is similar to Bigfoot called Sukaloo.
Huh.
Oh.
And if I'm not mistaken, down south of where I'm actually located, they have a creature they call Nobby.
I think I've heard of that, actually.
Yeah, I've heard that one. Mm-hmm.
And actually, that my father has, he kind of come up with the idea. He said, well, nobody's give a catchy name for what we're hunting. So he actually come up with the idea of calling it the Beast of the Blue Ridge.
Ooh, I like that.
That sounds scary, actually.
It does sound scary.
Yeah.
You mentioned your dad it was one of his passions. How long has he been into it? And did he have an encounter that maybe brought it on?
Yes, actually he did. Whenever he was a small child, before, I guess my county kind of started growing up a little bit, he lived kind of like in the woodsy part of the town. And he had an experience in the woods that he actually didn't know was Bigfoot at the time.
Uh-huh.
So he was out, I think, rabbit hunting or something like that, and he kept hearing these wood knock type things, and he thought it was like a huge woodpecker or something like that. He couldn't figure it out. And then later on in life, that was in the mid-'70s. Later on, about 1993 or 94, the Bigfoot hunter Matt Moneymaker came out and said that Bigfoot uses tree knocks to communicate with each other. And he started listening to the recordings of it. And he was like, oh my God, that's what I heard.
Wow. Okay. I mean, you think about all these animals, I guess that's absolutely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Have they compared like recordings or just personal experiences and tried to maybe figure out what it could possibly mean?
There's several theories about what it can mean out there. I don't know if there's ever been any comparison knocks made. There's several different ways that they think the Bigfoots communicate with each other, but the wood knocks is definitely one of the main ones.
Wow. Okay.
And theories have been put forward as to mean they're trying to locate other Bigfoots, or they're warning the other creatures in the forest that danger is near, I guess, in terms of man being in the woods.
Right.
And things like that.
I had never considered that possibly Bigfoot would warn other animals. I don't know. I just kind of saw him as his own thing, but I guess, man is usually the bad guy.
Well, yeah, and that's been my perception too, is that I've never imagined Bigfoot being a fan of us.
No. He eludes us so much that I doubt he's a fan. So
I think that this is definitely an intelligent creature,
right?
And definitely regards us as bad news.
So,
oh yeah, definitely.
What is it personally for you that, and maybe the others in the group? Is it most of you that have had experiences, or are you just intrigued by it, or?
Well, I can say for me, I've never had an experience, and the group is made up of believers and non-believers, and I happen to be one of the non-believers.
Okay.
for me, this is more of a chance. I was in the Army for a few years, and this is more of a chance for me to get back on the woods and, use my, skills that I learned in the Army again without actually having to go play soldier.
Well, that's great, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thanks for your support.
So that's cool. I would have never guessed that there would be non-believers in the group as well. That's so. Do you take out equipment when you go? Like, are you? I'm sure you said your dad had an experience. So does he now say, all right, I'm going to take cameras and I'm going to take audio recorders?
Right now we don't have any cameras, but we do have a few recording devices, and here soon we're going to have some infrared, they're not really cameras, they're, I guess the game cameras is what they are.
Yeah.
And we've got a few areas that we're going to be setting those up in, but we also have parabolic listening devices that we monitor the wood noise with, and me, with my military background, I always try to, take something that'll give me the edge, so I usually end up carrying night vision with me.
Smart, yeah.
Yeah. So we heard that you guys were going on a hunt this coming weekend. Is that true?
It's next Friday.
All right. Now, where are you going to be searching?
Yeah, is that something where people call you and they say, or you're just like, we're going to go out here and we're going to try to find it ourselves, or how does that work?
Well, we do have some people that have called in and said, hey, we've got this particular creature doing who knows what, and we try to get to them as soon as we can, but right now we have a series of areas that we're investigating because as my dad would say, the evidence is very strong there. So we're trying to isolate certain parts of the county that we live in that may be possible to sustain a Bigfoot.
So what kind of physical evidence have you found?
Well, we actually, on our Facebook page, Bigfoot 911, we have all of the photographs from our recent hunts and ones that we've done in the past. And I got to say, for a non-believer, we have found an abnormally strange amount of, like, tree structure type things and places that, just seem, you get into them and it's just, you get that feeling that you're being watched. And we have several photographs of footprints. We never made any castings because the ground wasn't good enough to try to cast in, but we have photographs of them.
Wow, that's cool. Ryan? I'm trying to think of an intelligent question, but I'm kind of fanboy about him. I would love to see something like that. Did it kind of blow your mind the first time you actually found evidence as a non-believer?
No, it didn't really blow my mind. I was trying to think of a logical, explanation for it. And, I don't have an explanation for it, I guess, per se, as like a scientific, this is what this is. But then again, I don't have definitive proof this is what made that.
Right.
Well, I think it's good to approach a situation like that with kind of the eye of a skeptic. That way you're, because I think it's easy to, get out in the field and be too hopeful that you're going to find something. And then that kind of clouds your judgment.
Right.
Keeps you from, you're, if you get out and you're so hopeful and so, hung up on the idea of discovering the creature, that you're going to start seeing Bigfoot everywhere.
Right.
Every little shadow, every deer that moves,
Is there like a set of rules? I think I read that your group is around 50 members? Is that right?
Actually now on the Facebook page we have, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think we have 309 members of the page.
Nice.
Yeah.
But as far as researchers and people that actually go out into the woods, there's only about 15 of us that actually go.
Are they all local or?
Yes, all of the ones that go with us is local.
Okay.
Now, there is people on the page that do hunts independently that are pretty much for themselves, but, we haven't, I guess, ventured to their part of North Carolina yet.
Right. do you guys plan to expand? Is that in the cards, or are you just hoping to find something around you, really?
Really, I think we're trying to get as much research in this area as we can before we really try to start going out to other areas, but expansion is definitely in the future.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's awesome. I've always kind of wondered what it would be like to go on a hunt. I've never actually been on a hunt.
I've not either.
Yeah.
I was actually wondering if you could tell us about one of the more interesting hunts you've ever been on, or maybe just, like your favorite hunt that you've been on.
Well, I guess the most interesting one we had was actually, if I'm not mistaken, about a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago, where we tried to get in the woods before dark that particular night, and we got in and we kind of got everybody spread out the way we would want them, and we started having weird interactions with the birds. And in particular the whippoorwills. Now, I know that most of them usually chirp at nighttime whenever the sun's going down, but even after the sun went down, they would chirp, and it wasn't that they was all chirping, it was that one would chirp over one group and then another one would chirp over another group. And it kept moving, and whenever we would try to follow it, it would lead us in circles.
Wow.
It was almost like they were, I guess, communicating between groups and sort of, I guess, creating a decoy.
Exactly.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's actually what it sounds like. Did you all actually happen to find anything that night? Well, I mean, that in and of itself is compelling.
Well, that particular night, we kind of called the groups back in and formed two main groups that was, a little bit larger, trying to get the activity nailed down to one area to see, what the birds would do. And in the process of the two groups separating, my dad was hit by a rock in the chest.
Oh, wow.
From out of nowhere.
First question, I guess, is he all right?
Oh, yeah, he's good. It wasn't a huge rock, but, it was enough to make him hit. He thought one of us had did it. So, at first he wasn't like, oh, that was Bigfoot or anything like that. But, whenever we was all standing there with our hands up, he's like, oh, crap, what just happened?
Yeah. That's scary. That's actually kind of scary a little bit. You hear on ghost hunts and things, people get touched and pushed, and I've never heard of a rock hitting somebody, so maybe Bigfoot's angry about something.
Well, I'll tell you about the rock throwing thing. There's a theory behind that if you're close to a Bigfoot's nest or, like one of their game trails, that they will defend it by throwing rocks and growling and that sort of thing. Is their growl known to be just sound like a normal animal, or what's it said to sound like? Well, it's been described a lot of different ways, but from my research that I've conducted, it's very comparable to the growl that you would hear of a silverback gorilla. Ooh. Or maybe a mountain gorilla whenever they feel threatened. Mm-hmm. That's not a growl you want to hear when you're out in the woods.
Definitely not.
Oh, no.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
So what? I guess you probably grew up hearing your stories from your dad. Then do you have a story that he's always told you that, even though as a non-believer, you're always like, and it kind of keeps you going, hoping to find something yourself? Well, he did tell me one in particular that actually my great grandmother was involved in. Whenever he was a kid, it was actually he came back home from hearing those knocks that one day, and he told his great grandma, about what he had heard, and she said, Johnny, don't you go back into the woods after dark. The booger man will get you. And he never could get her to tell what that was, and whenever he asked his mom about it, she just repeated, don't go back into the woods. The booger man will get you. So I've always thought that was strange. Yeah, that sounds... That's actually similar. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Ryan. I didn't mean to talk over you.
That's actually similar to the wood booger tales that I was told as a kid. It was always delivered as sort of an urban legend to kind of warn you to, get back in before curfew.
Yeah.
And something will come and drag you into the woods, and you'll never be seen again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of like the stories that I got whenever I was a kid. My grandfather in order to keep us in closer to the house at night, he would always tell us the Wampus cat was going to get us. So,
I think I've heard of that.
Now, is that another name for, like a Bigfoot-like creature? Or
no, I believe what he was talking about back in the 1920s, whenever he was a child, back when everything was super small, the towns were super small, they basically, village around a mill, and that was all you had. They actually had a train come through that was carrying circus animals on it, and somehow a panther got loose in our county.
Oh, God.
and he would always hear stories about hunters going out coon hunting and stuff like that, and they couldn't keep the dogs out from under their feet because they was terrified.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that was always what he was talking about. Now, it had long since, I guess, passed away or been caught or something like that, but still, he always said the Wampus cat will get you.
I guess you don't roll the dice on that.
Right.
No, you don't want to.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that there's different names for what are the kind of the characteristics that kind of line up? Are there different species and what do they share?
Well, the one common thing that they all share is most of them are extremely hairy. They have a smell, and they're a humanoid type creature.
What kind of smell? Has it been described exactly?
It's been described as sort of skunky, and just like the worst body odor you can imagine.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't have to try too hard to stay away. We wouldn't go too close. But
yeah.
Oh, so what are the differences? Is it theorized that there's different species or?
Well, there is, I guess, what you would call the North American version of the Bigfoot, which is, anywhere from 7 to 10 feet tall and weighs anywhere from 600 to 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
And then you have, of course, the Yeti up in the mountains of Nepal and things like that. It's described almost identical, except it's a white-furred creature that terrorizes people in those parts. And if I'm not mistaken, I haven't done much research on this, but there is a species of what my friend in China calls a jungle ape that's located in I can't remember what province it is in China. It's, I guess, would be considered more Mongolia than it is China, but they have that sort of thing. And they're all very similar, but they live in different climates. So I don't know if that would indicate a different species, or if we just have one species that is able to adapt to any climate, kind of like a human.
Right. That's kind of what I'm wondering on it is, is it the same animal essentially, or is it even considered an animal, or is it a humanoid? Like what is it classified as exactly?
Right now, it's, I guess, technically not classified as anything since we've never actually caught one.
Sure, still just a cryptid for now.
Yeah, it's a cryptid, but I would be leaning towards more of an animal because it's nature. The way that the thing supposedly behaves. It lives, it hunts, it hides. It's got everything that a normal animal does. And it seems to have some sort of intelligence because it's able to evade us.
Right, and it may even sort of attack if you get near its nest, like you mentioned. So
yeah,
that's wow. See, this is a lot of stuff that I actually didn't know. It's really intriguing. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm not sure whether I believe or not, but yeah, you kind of have to approach it a little bit scientifically when you just don't know. I believe. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we're kind of running into right now is a lot of these, and I'm not making fun of anybody, but the people that are really in touch with nature are trying to put forth is that Bigfoot doesn't hunt, that he lives on bugs and berries and roots and mushrooms and stuff like that. But in studying predatory animals that are predators that are large, there's no really other animal in the world that is the size of the animals, except for elephants and rhinos, that can maintain a body weight and an aggressiveness and an ability to hide, except for other animals that are predators.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
I would, in my own thinking, this is no scientific declaration or anything, I would say that the Bigfoot would definitely have to be a predator.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always at least thought of it as an omnivore.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Uh-huh.
No doubt that it gathers as well, but you know.
I'm not discounting the fact that it probably does that. I mean, especially in the summer when you think about how many bugs is out there and what's growing. Of course, it's going to go to what it can find easy.
Mm-hmm.
But in the wintertime when everything's dead, what's it do?
Right, that's true.
I mean, how much food would it have to hide or store to maintain a 1,000-pound animal through the wintertime?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, there ain't no way. It has to hunt.
That's true. And would it hibernate like a bear, maybe? And then, whereas the Yeti's great in the winter, maybe the American Bigfoot would hibernate? Has that ever been mentioned or thought about?
I've never heard of anything like that, but, seeing as how we get reports all the time, and you can actually get on the BFRO's website and look, and they have reports year-round all over America. So, I wouldn't say that it is. I mean, there's definitely the possibility that it could partially hibernate.
Right.
But I would say that more than likely it doesn't.
Okay. It's just one of those things. I'm just curiosity strikes me.
I've always wondered about, there have been reports in the past of them existing within like a family group. Or I don't want to say tribes, but more like
like a clan.
Yeah, or pods, I guess. Like a small, tight-knit community of them.
I've read a little bit of stuff about that, and I haven't personally seen anything to support that theory. I mean, you would think that at least maybe a mother and a child would stick together for some time. But as far as having like a family setting like we humans have, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. And I wonder if some people, that scientifically, I think we need to think of this creature as more of a cryptid, but I wonder if people, that do their own research, I wonder if they kind of associate this creature more human than they should. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
I think there's a lot of research that actually points towards that. From the shows that's out and the book that's been written, I think a lot of people try to humanize this creature.
Mm-hmm.
And it has characteristics of being like us, of being intelligent, of being able to problem solve, of being able to navigate land. But people put too much stock into that. I mean, deer migrate, so land navigation is not that hard.
Right.
I mean, and I think a lot of people try to humanize it, and it's not, I don't believe it's quite there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we look back at history, at one point in time, the silverback gorilla itself was regarded as, I guess we can't say cryptid, that term didn't exist back then, but,
right.
There were local or urban tales of an ape-like creature that could become violent if encountered, and it turned out that was real, and it ended up being the silverback gorilla as we know today. So that was added to the catalog, and
Do you sort of feel that's where this could eventually end up? That maybe we gave it credit for being something that's, I don't know, big and scary and elusive, where eventually we'll just figure out where they are and how they exist. And,
so eventually we'll end up with a North American ape,
right?
I guess.
I think that, now this is coming from a non-believer's standpoint, I think that eventually, if we do get something, I don't think it's going to be as huge as everybody's making it out to be. I think it's going to be, maybe it's not, I guess the technical term would be prehistoric. I'm trying to think how to word this. I think it's going to be, well, there's not really a good way to word it without
That's okay.
it sounding funny. I think it's going to end up being, we have one.
That's essentially like an ape, like animal.
It's ape-like in nature. We have, evidence of where it was at or where it's been found, and I think it's just going to end up being something like it was maybe from a long time ago, and its species, I guess, has adapted to, the land turning into housing developments and McDonald's and everything like that, and it's going to become a North American ape that is extremely elusive.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine that. So you don't think personally that it has, and I'm not making fun of what people believe at all, but you don't personally think that it has these powers to blend and avoid and nothing magical exactly.
Oh gosh, we've we kind of talked about that one night. There's actually theories out there that whatever this creature may be, that some may have psychic abilities.
Right.
I know. I've encountered those people.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. There's people that think that Bigfoot is from aliens and that they have these powers to put you in a trance and all this. And I don't personally think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be, just, I don't want to say another ape. It's going to be a huge find if they ever do. But I don't believe it's going to be, paranormal at all.
Right. So go ahead.
Even the Native Americans, they kind of sort of gave it a paranormal aspect. But even if you talk to people now, they've kind of went back on that a little bit, saying, "Well, don't think so."
Right.
Maybe our kinfolk was, exaggerating a little bit, but still, I mean, it's always a possibility. But I personally don't think so.
Would your dad differ in the opinion of that with you, for example?
Oh no. Me and him talked extensively about this, and he thinks that this is definitely a creature of nature. It's not related to the devil or, whatever people associate it with as far as being paranormal or having powers. He just thinks it's a creature that hasn't been discovered yet.
So do you guys entertain, like other cryptids, or I guess you obviously focus on Bigfoot, but has it ever someone got in touch with you and said they saw something a little different maybe and you entertained it?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. The other day on Facebook, we actually had one of these guys that is friends with us that said that a man contacted him about almost like a wolf man, or he called it a dog man, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember it exactly, but it was almost like a werewolf type thing.
Wow.
And I've never heard that in North Carolina, but he's trying to get more information about it, but we've had that, and then we actually had an email from a lady that said she was encountering some type of beast. She didn't say it was the Bigfoot. She was kind of alluding more towards like I think how best to put it. It's almost like a lizard type man, and she's the only person that we talked about, and I tried to email her back. Never has emailed me back. So I don't know if she was crazy or what, but we have had reports of other things, but mostly we're trying to focus on Bigfoot for the time being.
Sure. So have you ever had anyone contact you and they were just absolutely upset? They just knew Bigfoot was near and you needed to get out there and help them. Is that even something you would offer to do?
Well, it really depends. We had this one lady that contacted us that was just crazy, telling us that Bigfoot was attacking her, and we was like, holy crap, where is this?
Wow, yeah.
I emailed her back real quick, and she said Bigfoot was terrorizing her town, and she was in Massachusetts. And I said, okay, ma'am, can you give us any more information than that? Because I was worried. I was like, well, maybe she's being attacked by something. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot.
Yeah, but if you're being physically attacked by something, it's time to...
you might need some help.
Yeah.
But as I kept on talking with her, she was a nut. She was sending me these pictures of, I don't know if you guys have seen the old Bigfoot footage that was filmed out in California about that guy
classic,
that was on a horse.
Yeah.
The classic one.
Yeah.
What she did, she got on YouTube and screenshotted it with her phone and sent it and said that she took that picture. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure you did.
right off the computer.
Yeah, right off. You could still see the YouTube bar across the bottom.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I think the fact that you all are going about it scientifically, it's nothing to be mocked. You're not saying Bigfoot's going to come in your house and steal your food. You're just saying that there's a chance he exists, and we're going to do our best to find out for sure.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's great. So what's the end goal exactly? Or do you have one? If you found out Bigfoot existed, would you move on to another creature? Would it become a thing for you guys, or would you kind of just be glad you found Bigfoot?
Would the case be closed then?
Right.
Well, I'm sure my dad would. He'd be elated and ecstatic, and
right.
all sorts of things rolled into one. If we did find Bigfoot, and now I would put forth the conjecture that once you find Bigfoot, what it's going to take to convince everybody is a body.
That's it.
So
right.
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to have, the Bigfoot alive, or you're going to have it dead. And it's more than likely going to be dead, because I ain't fighting nothing that's 1,000 pounds.
That's right.
Yeah, how do you successfully capture something like that?
Exactly. I don't even know how you go about doing that.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't know.
I would say whoever it is, I don't know if it's going to be us, I don't know whoever, but whoever gets the first Bigfoot body that can be scientifically examined, I would say that the case would never be closed for them. That would probably, for that individual or individuals that is in with that and helping with it, their life is probably going to change a lot, because they have found a creature that's sort of mythical and has a lot of, all over the country. Everybody, not everybody, but lots of people have seen it, and all of a sudden you're going to become really popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't think the case on Bigfoot's ever going to be closed, whether we find one or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think, now, there's, like you said, there's stories all across the United States. Do you think if we ever caught one and we're for sure about it, the rest would come out of the woodwork, or if we'd have to go hunt for years to catch the second one just the same?
I think that if one ever is caught, that I believe it would take probably around the same amount of time, maybe not quite as long, because if you was to catch it just by chance alive,
mm-hmm.
you could study it, you could learn its habits,
right?
You could learn what it eats, and it would make it a lot easier to catch something,
right.
Whenever you know what you're exactly looking for. But if you catch it and you kill it, whatever ends up being the case, I think it's not going to be as long till you have a second one caught, at least.
So I've got kind of a fun question. Let's see. So let's say you were to find Bigfoot standing right in front of you, and it's the mythical version, the 7-8 foot tall, 1,000-pound creature. What is your reaction, or how do you think your dad would react, or what happens in that situation?
Right.
Both you and the Bigfoot have kind of run into each other, wrong place at the wrong time. What goes down then?
I'm not sure what my dad would do. He would probably, freak out, be happy, crazy. But for me personally, I don't particularly like being called crazy, so I would probably take the thing down.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just me, because that's going to be the only way that I'm ever going to get people to understand, hey, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. He's got it.
Right.
I mean, as cruel as that is, and I'm sure there's PETA groups trying to find pictures for me to burn now, but, I'm sorry. That's what it's going to have to take. You're going to have something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't just say this happened, because people do, and nobody
mm-hmm.
believes them. I agree.
Exactly.
I mean, that happens across the board, UFOs, ghosts,
mm-hmm.
what have you,
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Well, we heard, I don't remember where we heard it.
I was actually looking at the Facebook group, and I saw that you guys are having a meet and greet in August. Is that right?
Yes, we are.
Can you tell us some about that? What happens there, or when exactly that'll be? I think it was August 19th. Yeah.
Yep, I'm pulling up the thing right
I'm
now.
sorry, We try to be informed.
That's okay. Now, the meet and greet was Dad's idea, and he's basically wanting to get the members of the group together to kind of, hey, how you doing? This is us. This is what we do. And I guess really compare notes with the other Bigfooters that are around. And there's going to be, a few little booths set up dedicated to Bigfoot sounds and photography and, what you need to prepare for whenever you're going to be hunting for a Bigfoot, and one dedicated specifically to tree structures.
Wow, okay.
And
so that's
as far as I know, there's going to be other vendors setting up there too with, stuff that's related to Bigfoot, and I actually think we have one paranormal group that's going to come.
Oh, and, nice.
To be inclusive with all the ideas of Bigfoot, we're going to have a paranormal group there too.
Well, that's great. That's a way to really cover the spectrum and something for everybody.
Yeah.
So now, is that open to people to come and say hello, or is that just
that's open. This is open to everybody.
Because we were thinking we come that way a lot anyway. We might try to come to that and shake your hand in person for an awesome interview and see what everybody's got to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's open to anybody. It's not just the members of the group. I mean, we'd like for all the members to be there, but anybody that wants to come, I'm sure we live in a small town, so I'm sure there's going to be a ton of people from home there that don't even know what Facebook is.
Right.
They want to talk about Bigfoot.
But you know what? That's kind of good, because if you're not a big internet user, you probably wouldn't fake your evidence. You wouldn't Photoshop, for example.
Yeah, that at least omits the Photoshop.
Right.
Yeah. Photoshop is a wonderful thing, but it's a big pain in the ass too.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So nobody be taking screenshots from YouTube and bringing it as evidence.
Photoshop mastery right there.
So, is there anything really that you'd like to add? Do you have any other experiences or anything your dad might have asked you to put out there for people?
We basically, covered everything. He asked me to be sure and put out the email address that we have where people can contact us if they have experiences. We want to hear about them all. Okay,
yeah. What's the email address people can get in touch with you?
The email address is Bigfoot911 BOBR@gmail.com.
Okay. I think that's actually where I reached you. So it works, folks. Reach out and talk to them.
And we'll put that on our website as well.
Yeah,
in the description of this video or this recording and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also wanted me to mention the Facebook page.
Okay.
As well. It's Bigfoot911.
It was super easy to find. I found it immediately.
Yeah. Easy group. Don't worry about coming on there and typing your experience. If that's the way you want to contact us, we will take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we actually had an incident not long ago where this guy told, kind of poured his heart out. He had had an experience and he kept it quiet for a long time. And one of the other users on the page jumped on there and was smashing him about his grammar and all this other stuff. And, we basically said, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
If you want to get on here, you can type in German if you want to. I could care less. Grammar means nothing. If you're telling a story, just tell it. You ain't got to worry about being yelled at or told your grammar sucks. You ain't got to be an essay writer to get on there and type something. Just type it.
That's exactly how we feel. We're very positive. We don't belittle anybody. It's about the stories and the experiences more than your grammar.
Right. I mean, we don't have any solid evidence that these creatures or these experiences, whether it be with Bigfoot or UFOs or ghosts, what have you, we don't have any, obviously there's not 100% proof that these things are real, but, we can't prove that they're not.
Right.
Either.
Exactly.
And it's very belittling to speak to someone and say, well, ghosts aren't real or, Bigfoot doesn't exist, right? Well, they had an experience and it was real to them.
They experienced something.
Exactly. So. You don't need to, your experience ain't real because you didn't use a comma.
Right.
Right.
That's not how that works.
No, not at all. So, okay, so they can reach you at your Facebook page. Is that group, can you join if you want to hear the stories? As long as you're not a jerk, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it's a closed group and, you ask to join, and typically we try to approve you in less than a day.
Okay.
So you ain't got to worry about idiots from outside the group coming in and saying anything to you.
That's good.
So, but yeah, it's a huge group. We'd love to have everybody.
Awesome. I'm definitely going to be on there more.
Yeah, me too.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
So was that August 19th where we were out about the meet and greet? I'm sorry to ask you again. I should have looked myself.
It's August 19th at from 1 to 5 p.m.
Okay, where's that located for folks who might be local to the area?
It's going to be in Old Fort, North Carolina, at the Old Fort Picnic area.
Oh, okay.
The intersection of Old Highway 70 and Mill Creek Road.
I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
Actually. So
hey, we'll share that on our pages as well.
Are you guys going to have anything to like raise funds? You going to be selling shirts, or is it just kind of just literally meet and greet?
I think he's trying to plan on that. We may have some shirts made by then. Mm-hmm. So we've reached out to several vendors for shirts.
I know I want a Bigfoot 911 shirt.
Yeah. And we're trying to see who can get us a bunch made by then, but yeah, that's not guaranteed yet. And we've got, if I'm not mistaken, I think we're going to be doing a raffle for a 50-liter backpack, kind of like a little hiking pack.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sweet.
And there's going to be activities for the kids and stuff like that. And there's going to be other vendors there that are doing stuff. So there's going to be some stuff to buy if you want to and things like that. But as far as merchandise and everything, I don't think we're going to be too far into that. I think he was talking the other day and he said we may sell some headlamps and stuff like that. Stuff that you would need if you was going to go in the woods and Bigfoot hunt. Mm-hmm. Just have a little something there. That way, if you wanted to pick it up there, you could.
Right.
But, whether you believe or not, it definitely sounds like a fun Saturday.
It does, yeah. And you'll be amongst believers in both. I don't mean irrational, but the rational thinkers, and then the paranormal thinkers, and then the non-believers the same. So you'll be in a group of friends regardless of where you land. Maybe we can all learn something.
Correct. That's what we're aiming for. We're aiming to have a good time and maybe learn some stuff.
Yeah, that's the end goal for everybody. John, you have been amazing. You have taught us so much. You really have. We didn't know very much about Bigfoot. We read the stories and all that, but it's nice to hear from someone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Is there any shout outs or anybody like to say hi while you're on the air?
Sure, but real quick, and there's a magazine called The Backwoodsman, and in the September and October issue, there's actually going to be a story that my dad wrote about Bigfoot in it.
Ooh, okay.
If Jens would like to check that out.
Absolutely. If you'd email me the information about that, I'll put that and your website stuff and the meet and greet all on the website over the next couple of days for people. And the episode will be on there too, so they can listen along as well. Sure, that sounds good. Okay. Well, as far as shout outs, I'd like to say hello to my good buddy Staff Sergeant Jesse Everett with the 2nd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division that's in Iraq right now. Thank you for your service as well, sir. We'd really appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. Yeah, and my good buddy Jacob Van Gelder and his family that's up in Michigan, holding it down. Do they hunt Bigfoot, or are they just... They don't hunt Bigfoot. They pretty much hunt anything, though. Oh, okay. Yeah. Be careful, Bigfoot. That'll be the person who finds Bigfoot, though. They'll be hunting anything else, and they'll find him. Knowing my luck, he will be the one that finds him. Well, again, John, we really appreciate having you on, and we'd love to have you back in the future. If anytime you catch anything and you want to come on and talk about it, we'd love to have you back. Oh, definitely. And I'd really like to get my dad on here, because as smart as I am, I guess, he's 10 times smarter. He knows a lot. Absolutely. Anytime. Yeah, we'd love to have him on. Okay. Yeah, so relay that to him and just stay in touch with his email. And I think you have our phone number now. You can call anytime. And we'll probably be seeing you in August. Yeah. We look forward to seeing you in August. All righty. Well, you take care. I appreciate it. And thank you again. Thank you again so much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
Have you ever seen something in the sky at night that you couldn't explain? Research shows that 1 in 7 Americans have seen a UFO, but they choose not to share their stories. We want to hear about it. Write us, call in, join the chat. We are ready to believe you.
Do you
After Dark radio show taking place every other Wednesday at 10 p.m. Nighty-night.
Spookhouse Radio.
And we are back. Man, this has been a good night. He knew what he was talking about.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah. So I hope people show up for the show, because don't get used to people knowing what they're talking about around here, because we never will. But you know what? We're going to move on to something else anyway. First, we've got Megan with us. Welcome, Megan.
Hello.
Hello. How are you, dear?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're awesome. We've had a great time. John is a good guy. He is. And he was a soldier, and he sent a shout out to Iraq, and from us as well. Thank you for your service, and a shout out from us. We've got actually quite a few people listening. I think Princess Jazz is around. She sent us a question, and we'll get to that in the next segment. Yeah, it's a cool question.
See what that is.
Yeah, it's a local kind of deal. So, the Blackbird of Chernobyl. Ryan, this is your baby. This is your bird baby, so I'm going to let you have it. What is the Blackbird of Chernobyl exactly?
Yeah, so I was doing some other cryptid research. So I thought this would be fun to, we've been talking about Bigfoot. I thought this would be fun to go over again as well. So what I'm looking at is the what was locally called the Blackbird of Chernobyl.
Okay.
Now, the way this goes.
May I ask, is there a name for it elsewhere, or is that just they came up with it?
That was local to them.
All right, cool.
I've never actually heard the Blackbird of wherever.
Right.
So this takes place at Chernobyl. The famous and unfortunate accident site there.
We'll have a show for that later.
Yeah. So this started happening as early as April in 1986, or early April. So well before the Chernobyl incident itself. Mm-hmm. People living in Pripyat and people actually working at the power plant started witnessing strange sightings. They saw a creature that was described as a large blackbird with approximately a 20-foot wingspan and red glowing eyes. So, what does that sound like to you?
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah, sounds kind of Mothman-ish to me.
Yeah, so they like I said, they called it the Blackbird of Chernobyl, but what we're seeing here, after doing this research, it sounds like this is another Mothman sighting.
Well, that wouldn't be such a bad thing, would it? Mothman? I'm a fan. Well, I'm scared, but I'm a fan.
Well, you know how the lore goes. Whenever the Mothman is around, there's usually some kind of disaster that follows.
Did you say this happened before?
Before.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
case in point here.
Case in point. Yeah. Okay.
So whatever this creature is, is he the cause of these disasters, or is he trying to warn us of such? So the people say that the witnesses of the creature reported sensations of dread, in the area where they witnessed it. They also reported having horrible nightmares after seeing this thing.
I've heard it described as a spirit or a demonic presence even, so that would just lean to everything you're saying. Go ahead.
And I thought this was really strange. Some people even received threatening and cryptic phone calls from a man with a weird voice.
Ooh.
This was back in 1986, so it's not anybody on a smartphone.
Goldthwait? He's probably not related in any way, but you never know.
Whatever this was, it was calling people too and trying to, get them to flee or. Mm-hmm. So that kind of lends, to the part of the lore that says, the Mothman is trying to warn us of some kind of disaster.
Yeah.
And so the story goes that, later that month in April, the Chernobyl nuclear disaster occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, what do you think? Was this another example of the Mothman trying to warn people?
Was it the same thing?
They're saying that it is very, very, very similar to what was spotted in West Virginia in 1968.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the physical descriptions match what people saw in West Virginia, and anybody else that thinks they've seen the Mothman, particularly the bird-like shape, that silhouette as it's flying, and large red glowing eyes. So
yeah, not to play devil's advocate here, but I heard other people call it a misidentified stork. Now, I don't believe that necessarily. You would know the difference between a 5 to 6 foot bird versus a stork.
Yeah, some people, other people called it a bird man as well.
Right,
whatever.
That's true.
This looks like a man, a human being,
looking wearing, like a man.
wearing wings or some other flying apparatus. So, is he a prophet of disaster? Or does disaster seem to follow him wherever he goes? This Mothman.
Yeah, that's kind of my question. I don't know what I think about that. Megan, do you have any, have you heard about this before and you kind of always had your own theory on it, or?
Well, it just makes me wonder, is this the same being that was seen in Point Pleasant? I want to go back and research other tragedies to see if anybody else has seen something prior to.
I've always, I don't know if this is right or not, but I've always regarded it as a single being.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a paranormal superhero of sorts, but
super villain even.
Could be. Yeah. We don't know for sure.
We don't.
But I like to think, I guess I'm on the side of whatever the Mothman is, he's trying to warn us. He's not necessarily the cause of these disasters or anything like that. Just whenever there's something, big that's going to happen that's going to affect a tremendous amount of lives, that's when you're more likely to see the Mothman.
Right. Well, makes good sense to me. It does. Well, if nobody else has anything else on it, I think we'll just leave it.
It's just something to think about.
It is.
And again, I just wanted to. We were talking about cryptids earlier, so that's one of my favorite ones.
I agree.
I'm not sure if I'm a believer or not, but I definitely think the Mothman is interesting and always worth a discussion.
Always.
Hear a new sighting.
I actually have something else on Bigfoot. I should have brought this up before we went to that.
Yeah,
so tonight, normally we do a couple of big subjects and, or we split one, into a long show. Tonight, we thought we would just kind of give John the floor, and I'm glad we did because, again, he was very good. So let's just take a few minor segments tonight. There was something that I saw recently that, again, I should have brought up earlier, because it's got to do with Bigfoot. I assume everyone knows who Rob Lowe is.
No, never heard of him.
All right, so that's an astounding no. All right, so... I believe he's best known for Wayne's World, if I'm not mistaken. But seriously, he has a show that is coming to A&E, and I kind of look forward to it. I'm, you can't be judgmental. We'll wait and see if he kind of actors it up. But he said he had an incredible encounter with what looks like what the locals would call the wood ape in the Ozark Mountains. He says, I'm fully aware that I sound like a crazy Hollywood kook right now, but I was genuinely terrified. I was laying on the ground thinking I was going to be killed. A wood ape is the local vernacular for a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. That actually is going to premiere on Wednesday, August 2nd on A&E. It's called The Low Files. What do you think about that?
Will he have a theme song as cool as the X-Files theme song?
The story's not going to be believable if he doesn't. I mean, that's all I've got to say about it.
When did you say this airs? Because I've been hearing about these low files for a long time, and I'm ready to see them in action.
Well, I can't guarantee you it's going.
Apparently, it's been something he's been working on for a while.
Yeah.
So
hurry up, Rob Lowe.
Yeah, August 2nd, Wednesday, August 2nd.
Okay, good.
Bigfoot month for us. We'll go to the meet and greet, which I'm not poking fun at. I don't want to sound like I am. I'm actually really excited about that.
Sounds like a good time.
I'm not really excited about the low files. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
August 2nd, A&E. That's a Wednesday. Enjoy that. Enjoy our show first. We'll be on the air. Don't miss us for Rob Lowe reruns and such.
He's kind of visiting on kind of all things paranormal in this show, right?
Right.
I guess for me, it'll all be in the delivery. You know, he is a famous Hollywood actor.
He is. That's a consideration.
So that doesn't necessarily discredit anyone, but
right.
You know, I wonder if he's always had an interest in the paranormal and he's just finally decided to pursue it in some manner, or
that's kind of what I was wondering.
What led him to this point to take on a project like this?
I imagine that'll be kind of episode 1. It'll be the 101. Why are we doing this sort of thing?
There you go.
It's he and his family. I think
that'll help me decide, you know, whether or not to take it seriously or not.
So here's a fun little thing. This one I did want to read because it's hilarious. Batman stops thief from stealing Batman DVD. A man dressed as the Cape Crusader was on hand to thwart a would-be DVD thief in Fort Worth recently. Off-duty police officer Damon Cole had been attending a children's safety fair at a local Walmart when he managed to stop a shoplifter who had been attempting to steal $100 worth of DVDs. As it turned out, one of the discs he'd been trying to steal was the Lego Batman movie. So you know this is relevant. This is pop culture, folks. I told him, man, you can't steal my movies, said Cole. Bizarrely, the suspect insisted on taking a selfie with the Dark Knight before leaving the scene. Cole, who's been dressed up as Batman since 1999, has been dressing up as Batman, not dressed as, is well known for traveling around the country helping to entertain terminally ill children. I want to inspire people, he says. I want someone to look at me and say, because of you, I didn't give up. That's just...
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and I thought it was worth a share for sure. I love to finally report good-hearted stories that have to do sort of with us. It didn't really. All right, well, let's take a quick break, and when we'll come back, we'll get to some really fun listener questions this week. Everybody down for that?
Absolutely.
Let's do it, yeah.
I mean, sometimes I think people blow it out of proportion, but essentially I think if you're honest with yourself and you try to tell a story as well as you can remember it, I think people will believe you. There's those of us out there who definitely are willing to listen to each other.
There's a new show in town. It's not your ordinary show. Every other Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll podcast on your grave. Featuring monsters, slashers, ghosts, zombies, and more. So if that's something you're into, join us. Head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com for all the details. House Radio.
And we're back and ready to talk listener questions. Because you guys are great, and those questions are neato. I should have played some old-timey music there. I didn't know I was going to do that. It just sort of happened. All right. Somebody broke me. So, from Martin, have you ever heard of the Pope Lick Monster? I have not.
I have.
Ooh, Ryan has. Tell us. Do tell.
Well, let's see. So, I have my cryptid journal.
He does. It's a neat little black book that has cryptid stuff in it.
That's cool.
That's how you know you're legitimate.
So,
that's legit for you kids.
In a nutshell, the Pope Lick Monster is kind of a half man, half goat legend.
Mm-hmm.
And tends to be the subject of a lot of urban legends in communities where the railway was big, especially places with train trestles.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the Pope Lick Monster seems to be a violent prankster. Like I said, usually sighted on railways and particularly trestles. He's reported to employ several methods to lure people onto a train trestle. Now, if you're not familiar with that terminology, that's, like a bridge that a train would go over. So there are some out there, once you're on that trestle and a train is coming, you don't have a lot of options.
Sure.
Especially if it's not above a river, but a ravine,
So he sounds like not a very nice guy.
No.
Okay.
So his goal is to either get you smashed by the train or to get you to plummet to your death.
Shoo.
So, that's not very nice at all.
But the Poplik monster is not very nice.
Well, Martin, I assume Martin has heard of the Poplik monster. Do you have any personal experience, or write in and
gosh, I hope not.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was just curious what caused them to bring it up. Are you local or something like that?
It's that's just about all I know about it, and honestly I've never thought much into it about it being. It's not really. It's interesting because I grew up in Damascus, and that was a big railway town way back when, and I honestly never heard of this, until I started doing cryptid research.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, it would be just unfair for you to have the Poplik monster and the death train in Damascus.
Yeah, and potentially the wood booger as well.
Yeah,
maybe he rides the ghost train.
Maybe
you can't have it all there. It's not right.
So his special talent, I guess, is the ability to mimic the voice of a loved one.
Oh.
Some people say, he uses some form of hypnosis, so you at least think you're hearing the loved one.
That's
so
foul play.
He is going to try to lure you out onto the bridge using the voice of one of your loved ones.
To murder you, essentially. Get you murdered. Yeah. That's dirty.
So some people think, it's some kind of psychic ability or something. How does he know, these things about you? Mm-hmm. Where it gets creepy is apparently the Poplik monster chooses a target and then will engage in stalking activities to learn more about you.
Well, Martin, I hope you don't know much about him. Nothing beyond the information.
So we're talking, looking in windows, observing family gatherings, things like that, to try to figure out who would you go onto a train trestle for?
Yikes.
If they were calling out for help. It'd be your mother, girlfriend, how much is he watching you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it gets creepy for me. So.
Yeah.
Do you ever see anything, or is it just the voice?
It's just the voice.
You'd think if you were going to run out onto a trestle, you can see across the bridge.
No, he's not there. So
right, but like your loved one, if
right.
you're not seeing them out there, why would you just run on out onto a bridge?
Well, like for example,
I would think that maybe you heard the voice on the other side. You're running across the bridge. Now here comes the train.
Yeah,
essentially.
I know, and a lot of these trestles are curved through the forest.
Yeah, okay.
There's actually a couple in Damascus like that you can't see around the bend, as they say.
Right.
So if somebody was calling out to you, you could actually get so far out onto the trestle that you're past the point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't exactly outrun a train, and they wouldn't be able to stop the train in time, for the limited vision as well.
Right.
So, like I said, you're not going to see the Poplik monster. Obviously, I don't know if he's hiding under the bridge or whatever, but what takes it, another creepy step is, what does he do with the body afterwards? Is this his method of finding food? Does he consume your remains? So not only is he a creepy stalker, but would that be a cannibal?
I don't know.
He's half.
Well, I guess
half
it depends. Man. Yeah, I don't know. Half cannibal, half animal. I don't know. Don't ask me stuff.
That's an interesting question. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
To pop up.
That really is. Yeah, that's cool. He actually, and don't think this is staged. Ryan has a book of notes of things he's going to bring up eventually. He literally was like, dude, I actually have notes on this.
It took me, that's why I kind of stalled for a moment. It took me a second to find it. And because they're all pretty random in here, but I can take a selfie with my, my special
selfie with the book
research book here.
All right.
Well, diary.
Lucky for you, Martin, we actually did know a little bit about it. So thank you, Ryan, for being prepared. That's always good. Now, we've got another question from someone that we actually know. We'll use her handle, though, Princess Jazz. She says,
Jazz.
Hi,
Yay.
Princess Jazz. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for writing in. That's awesome. She says, hi, guys. Have you ever heard of Black Annie? It's a Southwest Virginia local ghost story. I have not, but I am from Tennessee, so excuse me for that. I'm getting a look from Ryan like, just because I'm from there doesn't mean I know.
Well, and Jazz, you'll have to let me know if I've got the wrong Black Annie story, but I think the one I've heard is that it was a woman that lost her children in a fire.
Ooh, that's not good.
It's again, it's one of these urban legends to keep you from going out, too late at night when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out past curfew, Black Annie will grab you and carry you away. So the story goes, it was this woman that she lost her children in a fire, so her spirit is left wandering the land. Some say it's tied to a property. You can name any local ghost house, I guess, you want to keep your kids away from. So she's wandering the property, and if you're out past a certain time of night, she can grab you and drag you into the property and replace her lost children with you.
Yikes.
And what does that entail? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
you could be imprisoned in limbo with this spirit. So, Jazz,
I don't like the sound of that, but yeah, go ahead.
You'll have to let me know if I might be way off base with that. That's the Annie story that I've heard. So, but if you have more on that, we'd love to have you on to talk about it.
Yeah,
and you want to expand on it more.
Yeah, you should come on and talk to us about this stuff. You're interested, we're interested. None of us are professors here. We just all love it. We share that passion for it. So thank you for writing in, Princess Jazz. We appreciate it. And thank you for listening as always. We love you for that. So rumor has it, and I'm gonna set it up like this is going into this is the tagline for a romance. So rumor has it that once we visited the moon, aliens told us to never return.
Wait, is that how that was delivered? Rumor has it that once we visited the moon.
Well, one time.
I guess that's a show we could do.
Yeah.
Later on, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there.
Yeah.
Is that where he's going with this? I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
You're fine. So rumor has it, yes, we have visited the moon, and aliens were like, nope, we don't like you. Go away. Do you think this is why NASA hasn't gone back? And this comes from Andy Hartz. That's a neat name, by the way. Andy Hartz. I like that. Real or fake,
Yeah.
It's a cool name.
I, for one, definitely believe that.
You think we're just so bad that we were thrown off
I just think it's
tell us about it.
Awfully convenient that we've never gone back.
Well, I've got two theories on it. One of them is not as fun, so I'll do that one first.
Yeah, do that one first, and then
I think
let's build like in a good romance. Let's start with the bad part. Let's get to the fun ending.
I think, and sadly, this makes me very sad, is that NASA is just too underfunded. And somebody out there is going to be like, they get tons of money. What are you talking about?
Right.
No, they, compared to other items on the United States budget, they're getting pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, if you consider the money they have to invest to do these things, their machinery and things, oh my God, yeah, they're very underfunded.
I think I heard once that for every tax dollar that's taken in, the NASA budget is a quarter of a penny.
Wow.
For every tax dollar. That's what they get.
Well, you know that all the money has to go to political things and corporations in general.
Well, we won't go there.
No, we won't.
Well, NASA should get more money. That's what I want to say about that. But so what I'm getting at is, for a decade there, they were focused on the space shuttle and, developing the International Space Station.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if we look at the current decade, their efforts have been towards Mars and, operating and, maintaining our rovers on Mars and doing research there. So I think it's a matter, my boring answer anyway, is that it's just a matter of budget. We want to do again what we've already achieved, or do we want to continue to push our frontier and see what else is out there,
right.
Particularly Mars? What can we learn from that? And I think at this point, Mars offers more to us in terms of, value of learning and things like that.
I agree.
So the fun answer as to why we can't go back is, and it escapes me.
Well, this hasn't been fun yet. Where's the fun?
It escapes me what astronaut said this, but there's an actual recording out there I don't know if it's Buzz Aldrin that said this. Might be wrong there, but so there's a recording that's very creepy where he says, "We can see them. They're looking at us. They're assembled on the ridge, and they're observing us."
I remember that.
I think that was Buzz Aldrin.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the story goes is that, we were observed, on our moon missions, and eventually we were told not to come back.
Not a fan.
Maybe it's because we left too much there. Too much litter on the moon.
Yeah.
We tend to do that as a species.
We do. Yeah, we leave a footprint, don't we?
That was the first time I'd ever heard that story. It was creepy to me. Mm-hmm. It was the way he referred to it. We see them. They're looking at us. They're observing us from the edge of the ridge top.
Right. What else would it be?
Yeah.
There's really nothing else that I'm aware of that it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you wonder, why wouldn't we have started a rover on the moon instead of going straight to Mars, as far away as that is, as far away as they had to go to test out the equipment, Well, not to derail any theories of aliens on the moon or anything like that, but I want to say that China has a rover on the moon right now. So what's on the dark side of the moon? Because don't they always speculate?
A rover, Megan.
Well,
a rover.
I've always heard it,
I'm joking.
Said that it's on the back side of the moon is where their base is, the aliens' base camp.
There's actually not a dark side of the moon.
Well, not the dark side, but the far side, because it's tidally locked. Yeah.
The unobservable side.
Mm-hmm.
So if they are, if they do have a base up there, it does at least get, a night and day like we would experience here.
Right. But it's the perfect
question.
hiding place because we can't see it from where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. That's
and they say, when you, upon approach to the moon before, the landing actually takes place, you do circle around, I think. So, rumor has it that's what pissed them off. We took a little fly around and
rumor has it.
Their airspace.
Rumor has it.
So,
yeah.
I think that's where the Hopkinsville aliens came from.
Well, hey, that's a show. That's definitely a show.
We were on their property, so they came down to
Where's Hopkinsville? What are
we'll
you talking
get to
about?
that. We'll get to that. That's a show. That's Kentucky, and that's a show later, okay? We'll get to that. Don't you worry.
Okay.
So let's move on to another question, because I want to read some more of those mortician stories tonight, if everybody's ready for some willies. Completely PG, nothing too scary. But anyway, so what do you guys think about premonitions or psychic phenomenon? I feel like I get deja vu all the time, and that comes from Shelley. Well, Shelley? You see what I did there? All right. Okay, so I'm bad at jokes. But no, honestly, I think that people get them. Premonitions, I do.
And even if, they say that your dreams foretell of things to come as well.
They do. They say that.
So
are they aliens? Because we've never described who they are. All right, sorry.
So
we get to the end of a show and we all get a little goofy, but
deja vu itself, a lot of people think that there is something to that.
They say it's a brain hiccup, but I don't believe that. I don't.
No, there's something, because deja vu is hard to describe. There's that feeling
the multiverse.
Possibly. You're getting ahead of me.
Dropping it.
So deja vu, you've experienced I think I've been here before, kind of things.
And then feels so weird.
Well, you've experienced that, but then you feel deja vu, and it's like, this has happened before.
Yeah.
I have been here before, and this moment has happened before. And again, you got ahead of me, but I was going to mention the multiverse. Is this, when we got on discussing the Mandela effect and people remembering, different spellings of like Berenstain versus
Oscar Mayer.
They're saying that some people have, our universes have merged. In other words, the Steen universe and the Stain universe, they've merged. But there's some people out there that for some reason have retained memories of the old universe where they previously resided.
Would that be maybe what people say when they talk about past lives? I mean, I know that's very different, but
yeah, absolutely.
But
That's one of the theories out there too.
Okay.
So when you experience deja vu, is that happening? Are you kind of recalling a memory from the other previous universe as well? Did you in fact actually, visit that place or repeat that event?
So is there a deja vu / multiverse show in the future? I think there
could be. There's definitely more to it than just a feeling.
I feel like we should have a past lives show as well.
Yeah, we can do all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that was a great question. It really, all of them have been. Not to discredit anyone, they've all been great questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley. Deja vu is bizarre, to say the very least.
Yeah, because like I said, it's more than just recognizing someone or a place, or it's this deep. How do you describe it?
It's like when you see a ghost. It's like you're told there's no way.
Every fiber of your being, it's like this has happened before.
Right. It's like, again, like we talk about with the ghost sometimes, like it's just to your core, there's something extra terrifying about it. Something extra that you can't, something extra almost. I was going to say terrestrial, but not exactly. But there's something to it. There is.
Could be a glitch in the Matrix, as they say.
It could simply be,
which is another show I'd like to touch on.
Yeah.
Eventually, are we just brains in a jar? Is my jar sitting next to your jar?
You never know. We're just plugged up to the same circuit right now and communicate. I don't know.
So that's something they touched on in the Matrix movie. When he experienced deja vu, they kind of freaked out. Like, no, we've got to get out of here. That's whenever deja vu happens, that's a glitch. Or something has changed.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, well, thank you, everyone, seriously, for the questions. There's actually a couple of comments in chat that I want to address real quick. Dark Falls 1172 says, I just saw a commercial for the Low Files, and it was playing Don't Fear the Reaper. That's awesome.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, so...
That gets me points.
Yeah.
For watching your program, Rob Lowe.
That's right. And Princess Jazz says, thank y'all for answering my question. I'm pretty sure that's the same story my granny would tell me.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, even though we kind of answered the question, we'd still love to have you on. So,
we would, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you don't want to, we get it. We understand. But at any time you would like to, you are definitely welcome. So that is our listener questions. A lot of people have been telling me that on the pre-show, and a lot of you miss it because I don't know, I play it too early, but there's a song by a band called the Astrometrics, and people seem to really like it. I thought for a change, I'd put it in the show to try to give a shout out to them for being awesome and allowing us to use music.
Would you like to listen to it?
Yes, I would like to let everyone listen to it. If you don't care for it, it's 3 minutes of your time.
It's a really good song. I really like it.
It is. It's wonderful. It really is. And a lot of people have asked about it. So
cool. Let's take a break and have a listen.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a little quick break and listen to the Astrometrics, and we'll be right back with the morgue stories.
All right.
All right.
I
Yeah.
Let's go rent a movie.
I don't know. I was kind of looking forward to a sub.
Wonder if there's a place where we can have both. VHS.
Yes. What does VHS stand for?
Sign says VHS and hot subs. That's awesome.
Smell those meatballs.
Hey, look, foot-long meatball sub and a free movie rental all weekend long for only $5.99.
Dude, look, rent RoboCop 1 and get RoboCop 2 free this weekend only. Rad, man.
You mean for only $200 down, I can get a Sega CD?
Yeah, dude, and a free tuna biscuit.
Don't forget your free copy of Night Trap.
Night Trap? Whoa.
Don't tell Mom.
You boys.
VHS and hot subs at 30 Town Center Drive on the left by the abandoned go-kart track. For more, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com.
Spookhouse Radio.
And we are back. I hope everybody enjoyed that, because that song, man, I listen to it a lot off air too, and it's just a lot of fun.
It's going on my MP3 list.
Yeah, it's that sounds like a joke from Napoleon Dynamite. I put that on my MP3 list. We did a show the other day. We'll not talk about it right now. But yeah, go check it out. It's the Astrometrics. If anybody wants to know, I'll be glad to put a link to it. You know, it's free to download, so nothing illegal. All right, so we got to some mortician stories last week, and I genuinely got the creeps. The remember the wrong arm?
Yeah.
Jesus, what is that? It's not normal.
Let's not remember that.
Yeah, let's not. So, all right, let's read a few more if everybody's down with that. I really like these.
Let's have another.
Yeah, go for it.
This one is
out.
My brother is a mortician at a facility in New York, and one night when I was visiting, he asked if I wanted to go to work with him so I wouldn't be alone in his house. Because, sure, a morgue's better than alone in a house, right? I reluctantly said yes. What's the worst that can happen, right? Boy, I was wrong. I should read that better. Boy, I was wrong. All right. To start off with, this place was creepy as hell, dark, and smelled funny. Ugh. He said it was normal, and it's probably the smell of formaldehyde, so I just ignored it, sure. That's your own brand of normal there. After a little time off chit-chatting and catching up, he told me he needed to get to work, but that I could stay in the little adjoined office and watch some TV, so I did. The entrance to the morgue had swinging doors that you could hear when someone was coming in or out of them. He came to check on me a few times, and I heard him. After a few hours of being by myself, I started to doze off when the sudden sound of the doors woke me up. Expecting for my brother to walk in and greet me, there was nothing. Again, I started to fall asleep, and yet again, the loud doors went off. You couldn't tell if someone was coming in or out, but they kept on swinging and they didn't stop. Thinking my brother was playing a joke on me, I got up and went to tell him to stop. But to my surprise, there was only a little girl standing there, playing with the doors and pushing them. Hi, I told her. She looked at me and didn't say a word. One of the things that caught my eye was a pretty blue dress with a big pink ribbon she was wearing. Your dress is very pretty, and the bow makes it stand out against nothing. She looked down and started to run the opposite way, towards the lonesome hall. I thought the kid belonged to another employee, so I went back to my chair. Hours later, when my brother's shift was over, he finally woke me up to go back to his place. As we were driving, I started to tell him about the doors and the little girl with the cute blue dress and big pink ribbon. He slams the brakes and says, "What the hell?" I said, "Why did you brake?" "Tessa," he told me, with a chilling look in his eyes. "Last night I did an autopsy on a little girl that drowned. She was wearing a blue dress with a pink ribbon. My blood ran cold, and I've never been to work with my brother ever again."
Nope. Sorry.
Nope.
Not going back there.
Come on, guys. Let's go to the morgue. That sounds amazing. VHS. All right, never mind. All right, so we ready for another one? If you want to try to shake that one off a little bit, let's move right on.
Is it shaking it off if it just leads
Adding
to another
more?
creepy
Yeah.
story?
Well, let's just shake ourselves onto another one. How's that? And then we'll put them all together in our head for nightmares, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so
I didn't want to sleep tonight.
Well, at night it can be a little creepy when you have to go to the morgue. I would have never figured that, personally.
I've never imagined that myself.
No. One night, myself and a coworker were taking something down to the morgue. Now, let me explain. Our morgue is a little freezer box. I would not describe it that way. That is in the basement and smells horrible. There's that smell again. Plus, it has a ramp into it. So she and I wheeled the body down there, and we push it up the ramp, and then we argue over who's going to push the body in. Is this everyday conversation for folks to do this?
It must be.
You do it. No, I'm going to do it. Because in my head, I'm saying, I want to do it. No, I'm going to do it this time. when realistically, or whatever. Of course, I lose. So I swing the freezer door open, push in the body, and slam the door shut. We start to fill out our paperwork when we both look up at each other, and she says to me, "Did you hear that?" I said, "I think so."
I don't want to ever hear that. And I don't want to hear somebody say, "Did you hear that?"
We need an adult. We need an adult. We both turned and looked directly at the door and got cold chills. The hair on our arms were standing straight up. It sounded like someone was crying out, "Help!" from inside the freezer. We both looked at each other, and with tremendous fear, we ran out.
What?
Days later, I was telling one of my friends, what? What?
They split?
What?
So they heard somebody calling for help within the freezer.
Within the freezer.
And they just booked it?
Yeah. What do you?
Wow.
Would you hang around?
Would you not want to check and see if somebody was in there on accident?
I guess, yeah, that's
yeah.
I was thinking more that people in those things aren't usually alive. So.
They're not supposed to be, but
So a day later, I was telling one of my friends who was also a nurse on our floor about the story, and she tells me she's had similar things happen to her in the morgue as well. To this day, I will not go alone, and I try to get out of there as fast as I can.
So, pro tip for everyone. If you get locked in a morgue's freezer, no one's going to save you.
Don't yell help.
No matter how loud you yell for help, you're done for.
You know that guy who was yelling help last night? He's not doing it anymore. It must be cool now. Or maybe that guy needed help. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I just thought, I don't want anybody yelling anything in a morgue to me.
No, absolutely not.
What if they yell, "Hey, we've got donuts in here"?
I don't care. You can keep them. You can have your dead mortician morgue donuts. I don't want them. I don't want your dead all over them. Oh, that one gives me the chills too. Just the thought. When you really, now see, this is what's fun about these stories. You'll lay down tonight and you'll think about it. You'll be like, you know what? Maybe that's scary because that's what I'm going to do.
So what are you going to think about tonight? Are you going to think about these stories or the Popelick monster peering through your window? Did you check all the windows tonight?
Did you? Did you? I didn't. I should. All right. So this one is, this one's spooky too. It says, when I got to work, that is all for me, just a job. I've never really had any feelings for the people I've worked on since that's what I'm there to do. And of course, I don't know them. Okay. That sentence, poorly structured. This particular day had been embedded in my head ever since. I had done countless autopsies before without a problem, but once came the day that I was dreading, an autopsy on a child. I was a kid no older than a year old or so. It was a kid. I'm sorry, this is actually not me. This is grammar. And I'm no grammar police, but it was a kid no older than a year old or so. It's really hard since I have a child myself. As I worked on him and I was getting ready to wrap things up, I turned around and standing right there was a woman sobbing. I assumed it was the mother and I told her she couldn't be there. I asked her how she got in, but there was no response. She left the room and a few minutes later another body came in on the stretcher and it was the woman I had just seen. I guess she wanted to make sure that her baby was okay. To this day, no one believes me, but I know what I saw. Process that. So, she apparently had died too, and she was just...
That's what I kind of got out of it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking as well. What do you think, Megan? You're not talking up. You can't just sit back there with the wheelies. It's not fair.
I don't want to have the wheelies.
Well, too late. You've got them now.
I do.
What do you think? Do you think that it was just a mother checking on her child?
I think she expired.
Yeah. All right. Well, that got very somber in here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Let's try to find a spooky one. All right. So this happened to me in a period of about a month or so. One of the hardest things I have to do in my line of duty is letting the family members in to identify the bodies. One particular day, I had to let some parents identify their son who had passed in a car crash while their daughter waited outside. The lady couldn't handle the pain of seeing her son that way, so she broke out. I told her daughter to take her to the bathroom. Not even 5 minutes later, they both come back and tell me they heard the young man's voice while they were in the stalls. I didn't know what to say, but I reassured her that he had passed. A few days after the incident, I stayed in my office past midnight when the light started to flicker. Ignoring this, I kept working when I heard a loud "help me" coming from inside one of the freezers. Here we go again. What if this is the same story from two different people? Mind's blown. I literally am watching their minds like, huh? All right. So, as astonished as I was, wait a minute. The same freezer where I had put the young man a few days ago. Now, help me, I heard again. I'm Jacob, the voice said, so you have a name with it. As astonished as I was to hear this, and yes, this man's name was indeed Jacob, I froze in my tracks and decided to open the door. As I suspected, nothing was there but an empty slab. Blaming this on my lack of sleep, I went back to work and nothing happened until the following night. I went to the man's room, which is across the hall from the morgue. While I was doing my business, a loud shriek came from the room, and yet again, help me, I'm Jacob. I came out as fast as I could and nothing was there. Till this day, I wonder what would happen if I would have asked Jacob what he needed help with.
So wait, the little drawer was empty?
It was.
Where was Jacob?
Well, that's the point. He wasn't there. That's sort of the point of the story is he wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And,
something I'd like to touch on sometime is communication with ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
When you're asked, or a voice calls out for help, or what I'm getting at is they say that it's not necessarily a good idea to respond vocally,
right,
back to whatever entity is calling out to you, because they say that once you've acknowledged it vocally, you have welcomed it to continue communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Which could also mean, physically as well.
Right, absolutely.
So what you may think of as a spirit, could be a demon or...
Yeah, you hear the stories that they mislead folks to... I remember watching, I think it was an episode of Paranormal Witness, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Where, it was like, there's this little girl in the house, and they started leaving gifts for her, and then it turns out it was a malevolent spirit that actually had the little girl, kind of being cute and trying to get the attention.
Right.
And, yeah, it might have been best you just left it alone, because there wouldn't have been anything you could have done.
Yeah.
So
always something to think about.
Yeah. Well, I've got one more story, and I don't know that this one's as sad. You be the judge. I was heading home after a long night at work. I was exhausted. It had been a pretty heavy day. I don't know how I managed to get home, but I did. I'd worked on a young woman that night. She had caught my attention since she had these beautiful green eyes. At my apartment, I kept having dreams about the woman, and I'm not really sure why. I kept seeing her running from something or someone, but I couldn't see who it was. After a while of running after her, I finally caught up to her, and I asked her what she was running from, and she said, "I'm running from my boyfriend. He wants to kill me." And the last thing I remember seeing was those big green eyes fade away in front of me. When I woke up the next day, the same woman was on my TV screen. They were looking for her boyfriend in connection with her murder. I never really told anyone about my experience, but I'll never forget those beautiful green eyes. Would that go into the premonition things, or was
kind of
sort of ish? I mean, it wasn't necessarily
Maybe
ahead of time, but
premonition too late.
Mm-hmm.
It just didn't reach out to the right person in time.
It's very possible. Either way, that's a shame, but
yeah, that's tough.
Within all the sadness, as we always say with spirits, it offers you a little hope to know that spirits exist and maybe they can communicate. Maybe they're okay. Hopefully they're not reliving their running from their boyfriends. Maybe that was just like an image being portrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Residual imaging.
Yeah, it's kind of like see this vision, and if nobody does anything about it, maybe you can help. So that's not such a bad thing. I mean, it's a bad thing she was murdered, but
definitely something to revisit.
Yeah,
when
that'll come up with the psychic. The deja vu.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'm a little ashamed of myself. Last week, as in every week, we do a parapole, and I just never got around to putting it on the site.
Oops.
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 Yeah.
But don't you have that sound effect?
I do.
Yeah.
You know what?
You don't have to play it.
Let's all ramble and we'll pretend that I have it right here on me. When I don't exactly, but I know where it's at. So yes, and I forgot to put up the poll. Pays for itself, doesn't it?
Yes.
So in my negligence, we didn't get it up. But I want to do it again because I think it's a pretty cool question. If you were to go ghost hunting, which of these 4 places would you most likely choose? Now, you can look at it from any point of view you want. You're a seasoned hunter or you're brand new and it's the first one. All right. And after we all kind of give our little opinion on it, which do you think would be the most haunted? Which would be the most likely? Castle, house, abandoned asylum, like maybe an old hospital or an insane asylum, or graveyard?
Well, I think that the graveyard is like your newbie destination.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that's where I would feel more comfortable being a newbie in that situation.
You're outdoors, you can run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
I think
not
it's
a bad
kind of
way to go.
I'm going to kind of give it to Castle for probably giving the best results or being the most haunted. I think is the way you asked it. Mainly because of their age. You know, if you're looking at an authentic, not restored or moved or anything like that, a real castle,
right?
There's higher potential for older spirits.
Yeah, Europe is much older than America, so
right.
Yeah, you've got that. And people used to kind of just be mean. I mean, think about like Vlad the Impaler and things.
Yeah,
there just used to be bad people everywhere. Not that there's not now, but not notoriously bad. Like there's that jerk down the road who like steals gas. But then there's Vlad the Impaler who puts heads on spears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. So you say Castle is probably the most haunted, and Graveyard was where you would pick if you were going, say, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Megan, what about you?
I think I'm going to give it to the asylum.
Ooh, you're going to go all out. Okay. What, for the most haunted or your first haunt?
Probably most haunted.
Okay.
But you want to dive on in there anyway?
Yeah, that's where you want to go. Have a real experience, right?
Well, I think that it'd be pretty hard not to have an experience there. So, sure, I'll go all in.
All right. Well, that's brave. I like it. I'm going to say that I would like most to go to a castle.
I just want to go to a castle in general.
I think that's what y'all are getting at. You're not even thinking about the question.
I've been to a haunted house before. I've been in a house that was haunted, so I don't need that one. A castle would be terrifying, just being in it at night in general. I think it would most likely be the most haunted, followed obviously by probably the asylum. But yeah, I mean, you kind of look at where people died. Now, people don't die in graveyards usually. They die in houses. There won't be many because only small families live in them over time. One house may only have, in America, only have had 3 families since whatever, forever. So, and then an abandoned asylum, things like asylums, they're going to have a high numbers like. Yeah,
there's something to be said about an asylum because not everyone necessarily wants to be there. So there can be a lot of unfinished business, I guess.
Right. Yeah. They'll have the mindset of they'll be angry probably in some scenarios. You're absolutely right. So yeah, that's where I'll end. I'd love to know where you all end on it. So I will get the poll made this time.
It's going to happen this time.
It's going to happen.
Gotta believe.
You gotta believe. It's going to be on midnightspookhouse.com. And I'd love you guys to vote because we like to hear what you think. And I guess with that, we're pretty much done here. What do you guys think?
Yeah. No. Thanks everyone for listening in and participating in the chat, and thank you again to John for the great interview early on in the show.
Absolutely, John, you were great. We really appreciate having you on, man. We'd love to have you back someday, and your dad would be great as well.
We'll see you at the meet and greet.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm not joking. Really,
let's do it.
That sounds really awesome. So. But yeah, I guess that's it for the show tonight. Thank you everyone who kind of showed up, and we hope you show up again next time, as always. And yeah. All right, so head over to midnightspookhouse.com. On Twitter, we're The Spook House, and Facebook, it's The Midnight Spook House. Drop us an email if you have a story, and Jazz, please get with us. We'd love to have you. So For me, good night.
Good night, guys. Have a great weekend.
Y'all, thanks again.